Good morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to be working on lesson 22. Make sure you're turning in all of your assignments. Today is Friday, and I need those 5 assignments completed by today. Let's start with part number 1. The letters TH go together and make the sound. What sound? The letters WH go together and make the sound ooh. What sound? Ooh. Now you're going to say the sound for the underlined part and then read the word. First word. What sound? What word? Then. Next word. What sound? Ooh. What word? When. Next word. What sound? Ooh. What word? Whistled. Next word. What sound? Ch. What word? Chill. Next word. What word? Ooh. What word? Weather. Look at part B, boys and girls. First word. What word? Swishing. Next word. What word? Bash. Next word. What word? Batch. Next word. What word? Witch. Next word. What word? Switch. Everybody's looking at part 2. First word. What sound? E. What word? Agreed. Next word. What sound? S. What word? Decided. Next word. What sound? Ow. What word? Hours. Next word. What sound? E. Remember to hold it for 3 seconds. What word? Northeasters. Next word. What sound? E. What word? Breathe. Next word. What sound? R. What word? Smart. Let's go ahead and look at part 3, boys and girls. We're going to talk about what those words mean. First word. What word? Fierce. A fierce wind is a very violent wind. Word number 2. What word? Pleaded. When you plead, you beg for something. If you plead with someone, you try very hard to talk the person into something. Touch word number 3. What word? Advice. When you give your advice to someone, you make a statement of what you think the person should do. Word number 4. What word? Nervous. When someone is edgy or jumpy, that person is nervous. Everybody should be looking at part 4. First word. What word? Surround. Next word. What word? Turned. Next word. What word? Distance. Next word. What word? Seafood. Next word. What word? Mouthpiece. Next word. What word? Meant. Next word. What word? Business. Next word. What word? Weather. Next word. What word? Figure. Next word. What word? Wanted. Next word. What word? Valve. Next word. What word? Wasted. Next word. What word? Sprawl. Next word. What word? Signaled. Next word. What word? Above. Next word. What word? Worth. Next word. What word? Worry. Next word. What word? Enough. Next word. What word? Caring. Next word. What word? Struck. Next word. What word? Warn. Next word. What word? Spare. Next word. What word? Bobbing. Next word. What word? Television. Next word. What word? Tried. Next word. What word? Spraying. Next word. What word? Morning. Next word. What word? Report. Next word. What word? Problem. Next word. What word? Goose. Next word. What word? Being. Next word. What word? Not. Everybody should be looking at part 5. Word number 1 is furthermore. What word? Furthermore. What's the first part? Fur. What's the last part? More. The middle part is spelled T-H-E-R. What does that part say in the word? Get ready. There. Listen. The parts are furthermore. Say the whole word. Furthermore. Word number 2 is difficulty. What word? Difficulty. What's the first part? Diff. What's the last part? E. The middle part is spelled F-I-C-U-L-T. What does that part say in the word? Fickled. So the parts are difficulty. Everybody say the whole word. Get ready. Difficulty. Word number 3 is realization. What's the first part? Real. What's the last part? Shun. The middle part is spelled I-Z-A. What does that part say in the word? Is say. So the parts are real, is-a-tion. Say the whole word. Realization. Word number 4 is situation. Everybody, what word? Situation. What's the first part? Sit. What's the last part? Shun. The middle part is spelled U-A. What does that part say in the word? U-A. So the parts are sit, U-A-tion. Say the whole word. Situation. Word number 5 is extensive. What word? Extensive. What's the first part? X. What's the last part? Sieve. The middle part is spelled T-E-N. What does that part say in the word? 10. So the parts are X, 10, sieve. Say the whole word. Extensive. Let's go ahead and look at sentence letter A. Listen carefully. These are sentences that use words you just read. Listen to sentence A. The situation created extensive problems. That means a lot of bad things happen because of some event. Sentence B. Furthermore, he had the realization that he could succeed. That means, what's more, he knew that he could do it. Look at sentence C. The students were amazed by the difficulty of the assignment. Sentence D. She had the realization that her car needed extensive repairs. That means she was unhappy because she knew her car needed a lot of fixing up. Now let's go ahead and begin with our story, boys and girls. The title for this story is A New Diving Plan. So let's go ahead and start reading our story. All of us should be following along, paying close attention, boys and girls. Jane had gone down too deep, and if she returned to the surface too fast, she might get the bends. But she didn't have enough air to go up slowly. She went up until she was about 20 feet below the surface. She signaled to Doris, who was above her. Jane pointed to her tank and shook her head from side to side. She said, "I'm running out of air." But underwater, what she said sounded like this. "Ip, ip, rup, up, up." Doris shook her head up and down and gave the okay signal with her right hand as if she understood. Then Doris swam to the surface. Jane waited and waited. She began to get nervous. She had only about a minute's worth of air left. Where is she? Jane wondered. Then she saw Doris swimming toward her. Doris had gone back to the boat to get a spare air tank. She was carrying that tank and swimming toward Jane. Jane took the tank, placed the mouthpiece in her mouth, turned on the air valve, and began to breathe air from the new tank. Jane gave the signal for thanks, and she meant it. That evening, Jane said, "We're not going at this diving business in a very smart way. When we go back, we'll have to string some spare tanks at the end of the anchor line. When we need them, they'll be there, and we won't be in danger." Doris agreed. The two women worked out their plan for the next day. They decided that they would go out unless the northeast wind was fierce. Doris said, "If we don't get out there tomorrow, we may never get another chance." The next morning was gray and cold. The teachers went down to the dock. The boats were bobbing in the waves. The woman at the dock said, "I won't rent a boat to you today." "No way." So the day was wasted. Jane and Doris walked along the beach. They drove to a seafood stand for lunch. They walked along the beach in the afternoon. Then they went back to their motel room and watched television. They didn't talk much. Slowly night came, and it was time for bed. But Jane didn't sleep well. The wind whistled through a crack under the door. In the distance, waves were breaking on the beach, swishing and spraying. The next morning was gray and windy. Jane looked out the window and tried to go back to sleep. There would be no diving today. It would be another day of walking around, killing time and waiting. "Let me see the sun," Jane pleaded, but there was no sun that day. The next morning was gray, but the wind had stopped. "Get up," Jane yelled. "It's calm. We can go diving." Jane wanted to get to the reef really fast. In the back of her mind, she was afraid that the wind would start blowing again. The woman at the dock said, "I don't know. The weather report says that there may be some more winds today." "Come on," Doris said. "There's no problem. The water looks smooth as glass, and tomorrow is our last day. We won't sink your boat." "Okay," the woman said, "but remember, I warned you. You never know about these northeasters. They can come up in the wink of an eye. My advice to you would be to forget it. Don't go out there, but if you want to go..." Jane smiled at Doris. Jane felt goosebumps forming on her arms and neck. "This is it," she said. "Today is the day we find that sunken ship." "Yes," Doris replied. "Today is the day." An hour later, the boat was near the coral reef again. Jane didn't have any trouble finding the place where she had anchored the boat before. Now all she had to do was figure out where that sunken ship was. When Doris and Jane went over the side, a line of blue-gray clouds was far to the north. The clouds were moving toward the little boat and the two divers. Those clouds were being pushed by a wind of 40 knots. So when you're done watching my video, boys and girls, make sure you complete lesson 22 and you submit for a grade. Have a great weekend.